let us have an in-depth analysis of the security situation in Nigeria, particularly as it has to do with banditry, Fulani militias, and terrorism. I want to say that because of some videos I will share, I want to encourage Mr. President to personally instruct investigation into some level of allegation as we have it. But let me start from tweets from, of course, People's Gazettes. This one is saying, UN delegation to visit Nigeria to spotlight progress on IDPs. We understand that this is not the first time we'll be hearing such, and even recently we had a situation where a former mayor from America was in Nigeria at the instance of Reno Mokri, and he made some revelation after the visit to some IDP camps. Let me allow you to listen to this video of allegation how people are being, of course, disallowed. This one is Nigerians speaking. Watch as we come back to further this conversation. And of course, I want Mr. President to personally order investigation into this allegation. We'll just watch as we come back to further this conversation.
Sir, yesterday I spoke bitterly at Kubon, a village in Boy district, because of the killings. These people came and they killed 7 people. What actually pains us most is it has already been in record that the Marvel man has never attempted attacking a person. We have never done that. We've been piping our youths. And indeed, the Marvel man is a law-abiding person. Yet, these people, they are persisting. What actually is paining us most is when our youth, stand to defend, to react, the security personnel are fighting us. They are fighting us. Most of the casualties in the hospitals, they were injured by these soldiers. I don't actually know. Have they come to secure the life of people or to fight the people? Knowingly that the Fulani man is the man that is always attacking us. They knew and they have done nothing about it. Besides that also, I want to say this to your hearing, Commissioner of Police. Hear this very, very well. The people used to come with sophisticated weapons. Sophisticated weapons. I have an exhibit of what happened. What is this? What color? Which color is this? Is this not army green? This is what they use. But when our boys will stand with their local, I say local, just local made gun to protect their land, your people will fight them and will also collect it. We are bitter about that one. We are bitter about that one. And so we want to say this categorically, that if these people will not, if they will not support us, if they will not support us, please clear them away. What happened at Yambas? What happened at Yambas? The soldiers were sending our youth away, and the Fulani people were burning our houses, and they didn't stop them. And they just stood, and they allowed them to burn our houses. Nothing was done about that. Sir, enough is enough. What this woman has just said, I want to emphasize on that. People saw it. After the killings, the soldiers brought 3 hillocks, and they convey all the Fulani man back. How do we interpret that? That is our grievances. Thank you for coming, creating your time to.
This one as well comes from People's Gazette. He said, Amnesty International condemns killing in Nigeria, says Tinubu government failing to protect citizens. But I understand that the government is currently placing an order, not just placing an order, they are already buying about 24 fighter jets from Italy. I want to believe that when that comes, that is going to be a game changer. Because as far as I'm concerned, the all level of government have a responsibility to protect lives and citizens of Nigerians. But again, let us equally look at this, listen to this man, a retired military intelligence officer who have made it clear the intention of those who sponsor terrorism. Just listen to him. We'll come back to further this conversation.
It has to do with politics. The sponsors, people that feel that this country should be Islamized. We did, normally when you want to look at this type of challenges, what you do is that you go through what we call the intelligence circle, okay? When you do the processing and you do the analysis before dissemination point, you discover that the end game for them is to just turn this country into like a Taliban type of country. And it's a mindset. And anything goes. In other words, 10% casualties, 20% casualties is allowed in trying to achieve the end game of Islamizing this country.
That's for the terrorists, the bandits.
It's not for the terrorists and the bandits, for the sponsors. Because I told you, and I will repeat on this channel, the sponsors of Boko Haram and the bandits are the problems. And defense headquarters, the army headquarters, the naval headquarters, the air force cannot do anything about that. Buhari has to do something about that. The Interpol has the list of those people that are sponsoring Boko Haram. I work with Interpol. They should ask, if they don't know, they should ask. The government of Dubai, they have the list of those people. During the trial of those people that were caught, names were mentioned. They have the list. The government also told us that they've arrested 400 sponsors of Boko Haram. Why should a government not try those people and bring peace and harmony and safety to this nation?
So having listened to him, the question here now is, the buck rests with Mr. President. I want to believe that Mr. President should personally probe into most of these allegations. Particularly this one that comes from some minority in the north, like areas like Plateau, Taraba, and all these houses, at times Southern Kaduna, because we must, as a people, rise to the occasion to be able to protect lives and properties of Nigerians. It is irrespective of the faith, irrespective of tribe. Every Nigerian deserves to be protected. And of course, the governor of the state is the governor and the chief executive officer of the state. He is not just a governor of one ethnicity. Once you are the governor of every citizen within the confines of that state. And if you are the president, you are the president of every citizen, every religion, every tribe. That is how it is. But when it comes to issue of security, the constitution is very clear that the welfare of the people and their security shall be the primary purpose of governance. So to that extent, it behoves on the president, the governors, and even the local government chairman to protect the lives and properties of Nigerians. More so, as I sworn to an oath to do that. I want to say that the recent initiative of federal government, talking about the forest guard, for me is the way to go. But the question is, why are we not seeing these state governments keyed into this initiative with the speed of light? Because I don't want to believe any allegation until I'm convinced that the government is not doing enough. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the government must rise to the occasion to protect lives and properties of Nigerians. Because if we agree that some of these bandits are foreigners, just as Muhammad Buhari alluded to in the past, that most of these bandits come from all the way from Libya. He blamed the death of Libya to have been part of the cause that after the fall of Gaddafi, that his disciples his followers, most of them left Libya, and that the only training they had is how to shoot gun. And most of them find their way into Nigeria and other parts of the world. But let me say that though the government often tell us we have porous border, I know that is a segment of that. But I want to say that porous border should not be an excuse for inability of the armed forces to police the country. The best we can do at this point is to leverage on technology. Because the world over, technology is the way to go. Because I see, or rather recently, a former member of House of Assembly from Borno State came out clearly to reveal that Boko Haram was getting hit from federal government under Jonathan. Particularly when the election of 2015 was postponed to enable the then government push back Boko Haram. And according to him, they were leveraging on technology and they were achieving results. So the question is, we can as well now leverage on technology to achieve results. I must say that technology is the way to go. Because the world is already going towards the angle of technology, and even the bandits themselves leverage on technology at some point. Now, talking about the power that the governors may not have to address this, I understand that the governors, for me, should not just be going by the name of the governors and the chief security officers of their respective states on paper alone, but rather that they should possess a level of security power. And I want to believe that the Forest Guard initiative of federal government has come to give these governors that opportunity to possess that power. But the question here is, why are the governors not keen into this Forest Guard initiative with speed of light? Particularly those states that are seriously ravaged by insecurity, occasioned by Fulani militias. Talking about states like Zamfara, Katsina, Kwara, even Benue, and Southern Kaduna. Sorry, and Kaduna because of Southern Kaduna. So why are they not keen into this Forest Guard initiative with speed of light? Because until they keen into it, and perhaps they complain that the federal government is not giving them the power that federal government have promised to give them, then we cannot know where to apportion the blame. Hence, the federal government has said, okay, let us share this monopoly of coercive power and engage forest guards. So until they engage forest guards and they complain of maybe inability to bear arm, or perhaps federal government is not willing to allow them, arm them, then we cannot say, okay, federal government, you are to be blamed. But as much as federal government are giving them the nod to do that, so we'll be waiting for the state governors to do the needful. Because I understand that under the last administration of Muhammad Buhari, it was very clear that that government was not willing to allow security arrangement at the state level to be armed. It was clear because the state governments then, particularly some state governors from the western part of the country, especially the then governor of Ondo State, complained bitterly then that you cannot allow civilian JTF in the north to be armed and ask Amateku, that is a creation of out of state House of Assembly in the southwestern part of the country, not to be armed. But this time around, the government have maintained a different position, saying engage forest guards and they will be strengthened. And this came from the president directly by himself. So the question is, why are the governors not jumping at this with a speed of light? It's a question that the governors must answer. Because personally, I've been a strong advocate that the governors should not just be going by the name of the governors and the chief security officers of their respective states, but rather that they should be given some level of security power to parade. And I want to believe that this Forest Guard initiative has come to give them that security power to parade. So I advise that the governors should key into this with a speed of light. But I must say, baby, thank you for your time. This is Senator Midan and Mr. Matt.